Oh, hey there. I want to tell you a quick story. So, oftentimes, I think that we pray and then we're like, God, what's taking you so long? We're like, we've asked. This happened to Paul, too. He said, I prayed 3 different times and God didn't answer me. Like, what gives? Now, I was reading today in John chapter 11, and it said, they told Jesus that Lazarus was sick. Jesus loved Lazarus. Jesus loved Lazarus' family. They were tight, okay? And he heard this, and he stalled for days. Like they said, he's going to die. And they kept kind of bringing it up. And he kept being like, okay, good to know. And you're like, so this person that you love, that you know is hurting, that you know is going to die, you're just going to let it happen? And you're not going to do anything about it? And you're just going to wait? You're going to do other things that are less important, in my opinion. And he did. And when asked about it, he said, he's just sleeping. In fact, when he died, he said, he's sleeping and I'm going to go and wake him up. Because he knew, okay, now he's actually dead. And then they asked him, like, why did you wait so long? And he said, because God is going to be glorified through this. And by the time he shows up at their house, he's like, okay, well, show me where Lazarus is laid. And they show him. And he's like, open it up. And when they came to him, he was good friends with them, okay, with the family. And they cried. And then it says, and this is the shortest verse in the Bible, it says, Jesus wept. He knew ahead of time that this bad thing was going to happen. He didn't stop it, although he could have. And when he saw everybody else hurt, he was hurt in his heart too. And he cried. He knew God was going to be glorified. He knew it had to be done, and still he cried. It's okay to cry in the sad parts of life. I want to let you know that, okay? Even though you know it's going to be okay. Even though you know at the other side it's going to be good. Even though you know God's going to do a miracle. It's okay in the moment to cry. I want you to know that. I do it all the time. Anyway, then he says, roll the stone out of the way. And they're like, he's been dead for 4 days. There's going to be an odor. Not a pretty odor, in case you were wondering what kind of odor it was. And he's like, roll the stone out of the way. And then he prayed to God. And he said, God, the Father, I already know, but I'm saying this for their benefit. You sent me, and now I'm going to do this miracle. And he said, Lazarus, come forth. And then he did. He came forth. He rose from the dead. After 4 days of being dead, he rose from the dead. It was interesting to me how much he stalled. Okay, go back and read it for yourself. And we just focus on the one part where it's like, come forth, and that's it. But it goes a full chapter of Jesus stalling. And I often wonder, sometimes it feels like our miracle is taking too long. Sometimes it feels like, could I make it any more plain to you? Like, what am I doing wrong? Am I praying wrong? Am I doing something wrong in my life? Now, first of all, a lot of times, yes. Okay, a lot of times we are. A lot of times we don't have faith. Okay, almost all the time, Jesus says, let it be done to you according to your faith. And then the other thing is that if there's sin in our life, then, it blocks our blessings. So, yes. But let's just say that stuff is all right. And we're like, what are we doing wrong? Maybe God has a bigger plan. Maybe God is going to be glorified. And it's easy. I've seen a lot of people do this, to go, God isn't answering me right now. I'm mad at God. And they do this all the time. I'm mad at God because he didn't answer. And he said he would, and he didn't, and that's it. And I'm mad at him. And they curse his name, say all kind of bad things. And then later on, God comes through and they're like, I probably shouldn't have said that. You're like, you probably shouldn't have. That's a real big deal. That's a real big deal to be like, I'm mad at God. To go blaspheming his name and acting like he has to answer to you. He's not our Santa Claus. He's not a genie in a bottle. He's the God that made the universe. Like, if he does anything for us, first of all, we don't deserve it. And secondly, thank you. Not what took you so long, okay? I see these people all the time, like, I got some questions for God when I get to heaven. I'm like, I bet God's got some questions for you. Like, why won't you just listen? That's not that hard. Why won't you just obey me? Nevertheless, let's say all that stuff is right, okay? And God's still taking a while to answer your prayer. Maybe he's about to do a big miracle. Maybe he's about to do a big miracle in your life. Somebody said last night, if you're hearing about a miracle is because you're about to receive a miracle. And I pray that upon you. I pray that because you hear things, because you hear good things, that God is preparing your heart. He's tilling up the ground in your heart so that when you hear those things and when the miracle comes to pass, you are ready for that. So I pray that God is about to do a miracle in your life. There's about to be a breakthrough in your life. And later on, even though you cried in hard times, that you'll be grateful and it would be worth it. Love you guys.